So I ordered these 3D printed pasty bases on Etsy. There are several sellers that make pasty bases, and these are the ones that I found. They're from this shop. I will link them in the description box. They've been great, just consistent, great quality, wonderful product. They are my main supplier, and then I have an alternate supplier as well that I have used before, and I will also link her shop too because she's great as well and has a very comparable product. So they are a flexible filament, 3D printed, and I get them in this just clear color because it's the easiest. I can color them or cover them in whatever I want, so I just buy them in clear because it's makes them the most customizable for me. And then I have these tassels, and I buy them in bulk from an online vendor where you have to order them in quantities of 5. So I usually order them in quantities of 10 just so I can get fairly close to getting matching sets. They don't always match in length. I kind of have to match them up and make pairs from them. So luckily the last 4 that I have all match in length. So I have my complete set. I am making 2 pairs today. I will show completely the process of 1 pair. These are for a pair of commissions that I am working on for, I believe, a duet. So this is the spinner that I use in the middle of the pasty. I order these bases with just holes drilled in them and then put my own hardware in. So I'm picking out, these are like fishing lure spinners. And you can get these sets of them on Amazon or at different supply stores like Sports Supply, Fishing Supply. And then sometimes the holes come drilled the right size, and then sometimes they're not quite big enough for the size of spinner I'm using. So I have to use my pliers to kind of widen the holes a little bit. So there's a little back and forth on that. So once I get those spinners into place where I want them, I use hot glue and secure them in this size. These are a 3-inch base, so I am able to do 5 pumps of hot glue, and that covers them pretty well and anchors them into place. And then I find something to kind of set the bases in so that the glue dries nice and flat and level. Now they're all dry, or dry enough. It's set enough that I can flip them over and start working on them. So now we're going to put the color on them, and this is going to be a nice simple pair of red pasties with red tassels and red rhinestones. So I'm going to use my red Sharpie. You can use Sharpies, you can use fabric markers, you can use generic Sharpies, you can use, whatever your choice of marker is. You could use paint. There are people who use paint. Some people do, if they print themselves or if they order, they get them printed in a filament that's colored. Like I said before, I just order clear so that they're the most flexible for me to use as far as colors and patterns. And then I just go ahead and I color the whole thing with my Sharpie. I have a large supply of Sharpies in my drawer. I bought at back to school time quite a few packages of Sharpies because they make giant packages of them, and then they go on clearance after back to school, and then they're really cheap. But Michael's does carry them year-round. So you can see when they're all done. So it's pretty similar to if they would have been printed in a colored filament. It's not that different. not different enough to matter for me, because I'm going to put rhinestones on solid base, so they just need to be red behind the stones, basically. So now I'm going to start that process, and I do use my tried and true Pelosa rhinestones here, and my E6000 fabric fuse. I use this even on plastic like this. It's not fabric, but it still works fantastic. I haven't had any problems. It doesn't eat the plastic, adheres the rhinestones nicely, doesn't eat the rhinestones, works well. So I have to start by outlining the pasty just around the edge. So I'm going to put my glue in a line all around the outside, and then I'm going to start placing stones. And using my little wax picker tool. If you need a more in-depth tutorial on this process, you can check out my video series on how to rhinestone. I am going to plug it every time I rhinestone something on this channel. And so I'm just placing them as close to the edge as I can. And in a while, after I get a pretty good stretch of them on, I'm going to go back and kind of zhuzh them around and make sure they're even. So what I'm trying to do is create a nice crisp border of the circle on the outside. So while I'm just freehand placing them, they're pretty straight, but they're not perfect. So I want them to all be even. So I do the job of getting most of them on. I would say about like 3/4 of them on, and then I start pushing them around to kind of see where they need to be. It's hard to explain. You'll see me do it. It'll make way more sense. Here we go. So I'm starting to do it. So I'm looking at it, and I'm just carefully kind of pushing and rolling the stones so that the border's nice and even. And then I kind of keep pushing a little bit. I use that little pointy stick end on the other side of my wax picker tool a lot at this point. And just kind of fuss with them. It's fussy work, but this is one of the fussier, harder parts of rhinestoning a pasty, is that border, that edge. And it's very important. It kind of makes or breaks the crispness of the shape. If your pasty's gonna look lopsided, you know, it's a shame that you bought this perfect 3D base with this perfect edge and then you rhinestoned it crooked. So it's worth taking the time for. It's my least favorite part. When I work on a giant order of pasties for like the school that I make them for all the classes, this is the first step that I do on all of them. I go through the entire order and I put the edge on all of them first because it's my least favorite part and I want to get it out of the way because it is so fussy. Once you have that edge on and it's pretty dried, pretty well set, filling in is just assembly line. It's super fast, especially when you're doing just one solid color. It's a very quick process once that edge is on. So there's one with the edge all the way on. You can see it there. And see, because I took some time to make sure that edge was nice and clean, it still reads as a nice crisp circle. Then I'm going to do the other one and come back. I wish it really went this fast. I'm fast, but I'm not that fast. There we go. We got them done. And then I'm gonna do, since I'm working on a set of 4, I'm going to do the other ones and then come back and fill in the middle of the other two. So there we go. And now I'm going to take those first two that I worked on, and I'm going to start filling the middle in. And it's just the same process at the edge, but it's not as fussy because the edge is already there. So you just have to follow it. So I'm just gonna fill it in, swirl the glue on in a circle, fill it in, swirl it on, fill it in. When I get closer to the middle and the circles are smaller, I put more glue on at a time and just keep rolling. As you can see, got a few rows on there. It's looking good. Now I'm gonna go ahead and wave my magic wand and it's done. Woo. Now, these pasties had a little bit of space at the tip that a full SS20 rhinestone didn't fit into, but it was too much space to just leave blank. I would have been able to put those on had I not had spinners on them. Those spinners need to be able to rotate. So what I did was take an SS10 of the same color rhinestone and just fill in that space. So you can see I'm doing it here because I didn't want it to just be bare in the middle. From stage, it probably wouldn't have been overly noticeable, but I would know. I don't make subpar quality pasties. Maybe once in a while for myself, but not for somebody else. Never. High quality. See, I'm using the little pushing around side of the wax pencil for this, the wax picker, because they're so small and I have that little post to work around. So it just was easier to do it that way. So there they are. You can see which one is still kind of drying and the other one has set some more. That fabric fused glue dries really fast. Like, I wouldn't trust these under a costume, but I will move them around. They set up pretty fast. And these are the lobster clasps. I put them on with jump ring. And I'm going to rhinestone both the band of these tassels, you can see there, and I'm also going to rhinestone the head of the tassel. Same process as anything else. And then I hang them to dry. There they are, hanging to dry. Sometimes I use a wooden spoon to hang them on too. It's very sophisticated technology for drying my tassels. There they are, all finished with their spinners on, ready to rock and roll. Hope this video was fun. See you next time.